Hi, this is Chris from GetYourRockOut website. I'm at the Manchester Academy conducting an interview with Sin from Ministry. First of all, welcome back to Manchester. How are you?
Thank you very much. Doing well. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Well, first of all, after disbanding a few years ago, what's prompted Al Jurgensen to reform the band?
I think it's a number of reasons. Primarily his health. He's feeling a lot better. He wasn't doing real well 4 years ago. That was a real tough tour for him, the CUA tour in 2008. I don't think he even realized he had bleeding ulcers, and he just wasn't doing well health-wise. So I think that's the major, thing that contributed to the band coming back now. He's had 4 years off, and he's feeling well, and feeling good, feeling healthy, and decided to give it another go.
Brilliant. Well, you've returned with a very strong album, one that's basically probably one of the best you've done in the last 2 decades. What do you think was the main contributing factor or factors behind that?
I think it was because the band had been away for a little while, and everybody sort of recharged their batteries, so to speak, and just kind of, wanted to come back with a vengeance, and just, full of ideas and energy. So I think that's why why the band sounds, or why the record sounds so aggressive. Everybody was just kind of all fired up and ready to do it again.
Yeah. It's interesting as well that it's kind of bucked the trend in the sense that he's made a great, and it's often been said that his lackluster albums were during the time Clinton was in office. So what do you think's fueled the aggression on this album?
Well, to be honest with you, some of the ideas were left over from The Last Sucker. Like the song Double Tap, for instance. I wrote that one in 2006, 2007, and it was going to be on The Last Sucker, but it didn't make the album, so we just kind of sat on it. I always liked the song. Thank God we put it on Relapse. So I think it was some ideas that were still sort of left over from the last album and stuff, and then just all the new ideas that came with Mikey and the other guys that contributed to the album.
Brilliant. Well, you've toured extensively for this album, but I notice, especially in mainland Europe, the set list is drawn mainly from the albums of the last decade. I mean, how important has it been for you not to sort of fall into that trap of nostalgia and relying on the past?
It's obviously when people come out. No, excuse me, I'm about to get a cold, so that's why I keep sniffling. A lot of fans obviously want to come out and hear the old stuff. That's just a given. It happens to everybody. When I go see a band that I like, that I'm a big fan of, I've been for 20 years, I want to hear the old stuff too, But you kind of, there comes a point in time when you're a musician, when you're in a band, you, in a way, kind of grow out of that. You don't necessarily feel the same way you did 20 years ago. So to repeat the same thing, for 20 years, it's tough. It's a tough balance for a band, because you obviously want to please your crowd and your audience, but at the same time, you want to stay true to who you are and how you feel as an artist, and obviously the current stuff is the stuff that you're feeling inspired about and what you want the audience to see and to hear. So it's tough. We still do a handful of the old stuff, and to be honest with you, I would have no problem going even back farther and doing some of the old stuff. 'Cause I'm a huge, fan of the band. Not only am I in the band, but I'm a huge fan of the band. So, but I think it's a tough thing. It's a tough balancing act with that.
Right. There's one surprise inclusion on the new record, and that's your choice of cover version this time, the SOD classic United Forces. Whose idea was that to put that together?
It was Al's idea. We're all huge SOD fans, and that Stormtroopers of Death record, speaking English, we love that album. We've loved it since it came out. We listened to it on the bus, so we've always been a fan of that. And when the time came for us to want to do a cover, the first band that popped up was SOD, and that's how that came about.
Right. Looking at the bigger picture, I mean, Ministry have always been regarded as a band that were musically ahead of their time, but obviously in certain sections of the mainstream press, the Offfield controversies have almost overshadowed the music. I mean, has this been a source of irritation for the band members?
Man, you know, yes and no. You know, it's one of those tough things, man. The band and Al, we always really do, and I know this may sound selfish in a way, but he always does what he wants to do. You know, regardless of what this person is saying, that person, or critics, or you know, fans, or the press. I mean, that's just how it is when you're an artist, and you're always going to hear negative stuff, positive stuff, you know, but you can't fall into that, because then you're really not going to be yourself, you know, in your music. So you just got to stick to your guns and stick to what you feel you want to say and what you want to express.
Right. And conversely, you've always had the respect of your peers musically. I mean, there's bands from Nine Inch Nails and Fear Factory through to, of course, Static X and Prong, who have all cited Ministry as a major influence.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something the band are acutely aware of? I mean, do you pay attention to the contemporary scene and your place in it?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not answering for Al here, but yeah, I mean, I think he's aware, you know, of the influence, and he has to be, you know, because he influenced all of those bands that you just mentioned, you know, and then some, handful, you know, more. He was a big contributing factor to a whole movement, a whole scene, and he will never really say that. He's not that guy, you know what I mean? To come out and say, I started this, I pioneered this, I did that, you know what I mean? He's just not that guy, but he is that guy that did do that, whether he says it or not, you know? I mean, growing up, you know, the first time I heard Ministry, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is like the best thing I've ever heard in my life. And, you know, I was like in high school. And I remember talking to my bands at the time and telling them, man, this is what we gotta sound like, you know what I mean? And I was, you know, trying to incorporate electronics into my sort of thrash bands that I was in back in the LA scene, you know? And it's just funny how things work out, how, you know, I end up being in the band, lucky enough to be in the band, you know, but yeah, I mean, he's aware of it, but he doesn't really, you know, think too much of it. He's humble in that sense.
I mean, speaking of the band's legacy, it's one that goes back almost 30 years now, and yet surprisingly, unlike most bands who've been around for that length of time, you're still pretty much on top of your game. I mean, do you still feel the need to prove yourselves to the world in general?
I don't know if it's prove ourselves to the world. We're just enjoying what we're doing right now. And speaking for this lineup right now, I mean, we get along amazingly well. It's the best lineup, you know, I've ever been in my opinion, even better than the 2008 lineup. We all get along so well. We were all like at rehearsals for a month, and then once we got on the road, I mean, we were all just kind of looking at each other like, what is going on here? Like, this isn't normal. Like, nobody's fighting, nobody's like, you know, arguing. It's like, it's really bizarre, but it's really cool. And I think it's showing in the shows and the live performance. I mean, the band is super tight, and I think a lot has to do with just how well we get along and how we've all clicked. So I don't know that we're saying, you know, we need to prove this to the world. We're just really enjoying what we're doing right now.
Right. I mean, looking at the bigger picture, most of you all have side projects, and I believe Al's working with his own record company in his spare time. So with all of this in mind, what can we expect in terms of future plans beyond this tour?
Well, there's talk, and again, don't hold me to this, but there's talk of another Ministry album and Ministry tour in 2013. Another Buck Satan record from Al. And I'm hoping I'll be a part of that one as well, the second one, and then we'll see. You know, we're just he wants to take it sort of one day at a time, so to speak. He wanted to come out and do this tour and see how he felt, and he's feeling good. And you know, we're sort of taking it easy. We're not doing a lot of shows, but it's feeling good to him. So I think that, you know, when he's in a healthy place, he's just going to want to continue to do it. So, you know, hopefully that next album and tour will happen in 2013.
Well, that's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap this up, we'd just like to thank you very much for taking the time to do the interview. Have you any final words for your fans in Manchester and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, well, thank you for having me, and I just want to say a huge thanks to not only our fans here in Manchester, but everybody in you know, in Europe. We did a handful of shows in the States, which are great, but I gotta say that the European fans are so loyal to us that it's really, I mean, it's a cool feeling. We were all really looking forward to coming over, you know, to do this this tour out here, because we knew that the fans were just going to be amazing, and they seem to stick with the bands that they like longer out here than they do in the States. In the States, it's like, yeah, they're your fans for a little while, and then the next thing comes along and then you're forgotten. And out here we've noticed that, you know, we have fans coming back, man, that were, you know, that saw the band 20 years ago, and it's a really cool feeling. So, you know, we really appreciate everybody that comes out and supports the band and you know, keeps this scene alive. So, you know, many thanks to everybody.
Thank you very much, Cindy.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you.